Give it out. That might help. Okay, so we're going to discuss, I think, a specific topic, but it touches on much broader implications, which is what happens when a halacha is rooted in a certain reality, and that reality shifts. So to what degree do we update our practice to meet the new reality? It's like, it could have a lot of implications. Okay, I will just point out, I always point this out to people, sometimes people get frustrated with the halachic system, and they say, if we would just update, then life would be much more lenient. I just want to point out that's a bit of a logical flaw. Guys, just think logically for a second. If you update to meet the changing circumstances, couldn't that just as easily lead to stringencies? Everyone mean this point? Why should it only lead to leniencies? It would go both ways. I'll give you a great example, guys. Let us say you're frustrated by, we'll do a classic frustration. Let's say you're frustrated by kitniot. You say, it's not a problem anymore, we're not going to mix up, these legumes with chametz, we should just be allowed to eat kitniot. So let's say I buy your argument. But wouldn't a flip side of that might be, wait, but you buy these potato-based hot dog buns that look exactly like chametz hot dog buns. Maybe we should decide they're the contemporary kitniot. Wouldn't that not be a crazy argument? So again, together with the argument that we should update halakha, it might be we should create leniencies, but it could just as easily create stringencies. So I'm not taking a stand. I just want you to realize that in theory it cuts in both directions. Okay, everybody good with that? Okay. Guys, we have some very dramatic attempts to be mentioned in Klali today. Okay, but I want to give Ethan Silver a little credit, because there are three guys who are trying to get off on the cheap, although they're going to win anyway. Okay, here we have Josh Jacobs is coming in with a weird hat to get in there. And the same thing for Ishama. What does it say in your hat?
It's just a picture of my team.
Okay. And Jeremy Fader. Okay. So they got off on the cheap. Guys, Ethan Silver actually ran a triathlon. Okay. Wait, Ethan, if you had realized it was so easy, would you still have run the triathlon?
Probably not.
Okay. In any case, Elliot, you weren't motivated by Shiur, right?
What?
You weren't motivated by Shiur, right?
No, I think about backpacking.
Okay, fine. So Elliot deserves a shout out, even though he was not motivated by Shiur. Because I'm really curious about the following. Okay, apparently Reb Chaim gave him three choices: 0.8, 1, and 2, and he chose 2. Which makes everybody in the room incredibly curious what 0.8 would look like. Okay. What? Okay. That's a lot to ask of somebody. Okay. So, in any case, guys. So let's look at an example. You'll see what I mean about changing conditions and how halacha should play out. Okay. So here we go. We're doing Gemara Pesachim. This actually is a pretty common parak for high school, so some of you may know it. Otam b'nei adam shekitzu beit hakneset. So apparently in Talmudic times, after davening Friday night, they would make kiddush in shul. Now you might notice the following, guys. Nobody in Israel does this. It's the universal Israeli minhag not to do this. In your chutz la'aretz communities, I imagine in all your Sephardi shuls they don't do it. In your Ashkenazi shuls, there's probably a split. Just a brief show of hands. Who in their shul on Friday night they do make kiddush in shul? Okay, so pretty strong number, right? Okay, great. So let's see where this minhag comes from. So they would make kiddush in shul. Amarav yidei yain lo yatzu yidei kiddush yatzu. So Rav says we're all yotzei kiddush. Great move. So they make kiddush in shul. Everybody in shul is yotzei the mitzvah of kiddush. V'shmuel amar af yidei kiddush lo yatzu. Shul has nothing doing. We're not yotzei the mitzvah of kiddush. Why? Now, before we even get to why, now there's something a little bit weird. In the Talmudic times, they would make kiddush twice because they make kiddush in shul and again when they got home. So now, everyone could agree, both Rav and Shmuel have a question. What's the question for Rav? If you're Yotzi in shul, why do you make it at home? And Shmuel, the obvious question is, if you're Yotzi at home, why do you make it in shul? Okay, so here we go. So now it's pretty easy to answer the Rav question. It's pretty obvious. Not everybody necessarily made it to shul. So why do you do it again? To be motzi the family. Okay, so Rav's easy. Everyone in shul who's in shul is yotzei, but people made it at home for the people who didn't make it to shul. Okay, next. But Shmuel's more intriguing. V'Shmuel lamli l'kedushe bebei knishta. According to Shmuel, why they make it in shul? You're not even yotzei. La fuke orchim yedei chovatan. What's the claim? The guests are yotzei. Why? The aklu v'shatu v'ganu bebei knishta. In Talmudic times, what would the guests do? They would eat, drink, and sleep in the shul. Now again, a lot of communities have hospitality for guests Friday night. But things have shifted over the course of Jewish history. I think in most of our communities today, there's like one family that's in charge. So they'll announce in shul, right? If you don't have a meal tonight, go speak to Mr. Schwartz, right? Something like that, right? But I guess in Talmudic times, they would say, if you don't have a meal, stick around. We're going to be serving some food after davening. Okay. I'm sorry? Yeah, I guess there was no Jeff Seidel in Talmudic times. Okay. Yishama, get that down. It'll be on the final. What Talmud page proves there was no Jeff Seidel in Talmudic times? Okay, the Amar Shmuel. Now, what principle is at work here? Principle you're all familiar with. Ein kiddush el b'makom suda. Shmuel apparently thought. By the way, apparently Rav doesn't think so. But Shmuel thinks kiddush is not just a recital. It's meant to be the introduction to the meal. In fact, if it's not the introduction to the meal, you haven't fulfilled the mitzvah of kiddush. That's why I say to you, guys, Shabbos morning at the kiddush year, I always say to you, eat mizonot. Right? Because you want to make it a kiddush that's a kiddush b'makom suda. Okay, we go that so far? Okay, so now what emerges according to Shmuel? Everything makes sense. Why did they make kiddush in shul? For the guests. Why were the guests yotzei? Because they are eating there. But all the general population who's going home for their meal are not yotzei. But that's okay because the guests are. Okay, we haven't got down? So when we got the classic mark down. Rav or Shmuel. What does Rav say? Everybody's yotzei in shul, but we do it again at home for the family members. Shmuel says only the guests are yotzei in shul, because only the guests is kiddush b'makom suda. We're all good? Okay, great. Now let us move ahead in Jewish history a little bit. Well, guys, let's talk about changing conditions and whether we should update the halacha. Okay, so in Talmudic times, everybody makes kiddush in shul. What obviously changed over the course of history?
People don't say Marav in shul, so they go home and then make Marav on Friday night.
But I would say a little bit even stronger. Nobody is eating in shul. Even if your community has hospitality, that's not the way the hospitality plays out. So if nobody's eating in shul, what's the obvious position to say? Maybe we should stop making kiddush in shul. Okay, and now you guys all know, all of you who have a minhag in your shul or in Israel where they don't make kiddush in shul, you all know why. And here we did update the halacha, right? We said, okay, it made sense once when there were people eating in shul. It makes no sense now. Guys, we could even get, let's say you wanted to be even trickier. You wanted to really fight with the opposition. You might say, not only is there no need to make kiddush in shul, it's a problem. What problem would you whip out? Exactly. We all know we don't like to make brachot for no reason, brachot v'atalah. So it's even better here. I mean, the opposition to kiddush and shul. The opposition to kiddush and shul would say it's pointless. Not only is it pointless, it's halachically negative because it's a brachot v'atalah. We're good, guys. Okay. So now, 1 second, Nathaniel. So we have done a great job of justifying all those who don't say it. But of course, in the Talmud, we like to play tennis. We like to justify both sides. It's very good for the world of logic and argumentation. So what could justify those shows that, let's pick one out randomly. Who said they say it in shul still? Who was it? Okay. Do you daven in Beth Tfilah?
No, I daven at Shomer Emunah.
Okay. So why would Shomer Emunah? They're pretty firm there at Shomer Emunah. What are they doing saying Kiddush Friday night if it is purposeless? We will try to justify them. Yeah. Okay, good. So now we're going to talk about some general models. So one model would be, I think there's a general split here. One model would be, we are very conservative in Judaism. We just like to do what we did before. So we don't ask the question, is it still necessary? We just say, if we've done it for hundreds of years, we'll still do it. That's one possibility. Some of you may like that. Some of you probably really don't like that. The other possibility is to say, no, you're wrong. The kiddush still has a purpose. But here I'm going to go even further, guys. What might be really intriguing is to say, kiddush still has a purpose, but maybe a different purpose. Like sometimes if communal life is dynamic, sometimes the reason we started something might not be the reason later on. Okay, are we in this point, guys? I will give you two analogies. Okay, one of great hashkafic import. One of much less hashkafic import. So let's go with one of great hashkafic import first. Okay, so as you guys know, traditionally in Jewish history, women did not get the same education as men. And in modernity, women get much more Jewish education than they got in the past. Now, why did that start? Now you could say it only started as a problem solver. Meaning, in modernity, women were getting a secular education, and if they don't get a Jewish education, they're going to think Judaism is simplistic and silly. And therefore, we need to do it to keep them from. Okay, guys, everyone made this point? But I would say, even if that was the rationale, what happened over time? We started to value it per se. Right? That we said, okay, we're not just doing it to keep women from. We think this is a great way of them finding religious expression. That they should be educated Jews and appreciate the depth of Torah learning. Okay, so again, why you start something isn't always why it lives on. Okay? No, I'm for once in my life not going to do a tangent. Okay, but I'll do. Wait, this is great, actually, guys. I'm going to give you a 3-word hint. And whoever can figure out the 3-word hint will get the tangent as if I said it. Okay, if you didn't understand this, guys, speak to Henry right after Shiur. Okay, the 3-word hint is Rambam on Karbanot. That's the 3-word hint. Okay, next. Henry, did you get it?
I think I did. Why would Henry get that?
Micha, did you get it? No. Any Shenebet guys get it? Rambam on Karbanot? You did? You're very good. Okay, so. Okay, Emmy. Excellent. Okay, yeah, of course. That was one of his. Obviously, it was one of his dad's tangents at dinner. Okay. So in any case, 1 second, Moshe. We're going to see an example of this later on. Okay, what if I argue, guys, that Chazarat Hashatz might be an example of what I just said? Okay, why initially did we have a Chaz and repeat the Amidah? Don't forget, as was said, not everybody had a Sidur, and not everybody necessarily knew Tefillah by heart. So to make it clear that everyone could be Yotzei, so at first there's the private Amidah, which we prefer, and then for those who don't know it, they listen to the Chazan, right? So one could argue, I'm not saying for sure, but one could argue that Chazarat Hashatz is not necessary anymore. Because nowadays, what if you're in a community where everybody's educated, everybody has a Sidur, just for the sake of argument? But what if I say, guys, I'm not taking a stand, this is just a possibility. Why do we do Chazarat Hashatz now? Maybe it's to sneak in, what do we like a lot? What if we like Kedusha? So we once did it to help the people who are not knowledgeable. Now we do it as a chance to express Kedusha. So again, guys, just to sum up, we have 2 models to justify the people who still do it. As Nathaniel said very well, maybe they're just minhag avotenu b'yadeinu people. If we did it, we'll do it. We don't have to ask what its purpose is. My second possibility is that it still has a purpose, but then I opened up even, I think, a more intriguing idea. Maybe it still has a purpose, even if it's not the same purpose that it originally had. Okay, Yishama. That's a good question. You're saying Heicha Kedusha would solve that. It's a good question. Yeah.
At Spanish, Portuguese, Senegal, which I can, sometimes they do Heicha Kedusha, most of the time. Like Shabbos, Mincha, they'll do Heicha Kedusha.
Specifically at Mincha or also at Shachris?
I don't know.
No, but there you go. In some ways, Isham, there you go. You and the Spanish Portuguese are on the same page there. Okay, yeah. No.
Similar question, but I heard a halacha that you're not allowed to do it in Kedusha for Shabbos.
Okay, I don't want to get into Kedusha right now. That's going to distract us. Okay. Yeah.
We learned with Ravadi last year.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I mean, are you okay if I make an absolutely disastrous pun? Because it's really disastrous, guys. I'm warning you in advance. You know why I can't answer you? Because you can't do Heicha Kedusha in a half-hearted way. Okay, yeah. I told you it was disastrous. Okay. Yeah.
Last year Ravadi, we were learning about 1 day versus 2 days.
Wait, I just saw something exciting. Avi Isaacs, you got it, right? You're smiling. You got the joke, right? Excellent. Yeah.
We talk about 1 day versus 2 day. Ravadi was saying it's very dangerous to have one reason, to say that there's one reason for a halakha, because then when that reason disappears, then people say to get rid of it. So for example, I was reading about Pink's book on Tefillah, and he quotes 7 different rabbeim, like the Gra, the Arizal, but the rabbi saying that actually Hashatz is the most important part of Tefillah.
Interesting. And why do they think so? That's the most important part?
He didn't expand on it. He just said people basically mevatel and do things that they should be doing during Hashatz, not realizing that's actually the Ikar of Tefillah.
Okay. That's an interesting idea. I'm not just sure what the source would be that it's the Ikar Tefillah. I mean, I could think of svaras, but Okay. All right, next guys. So let's now see it in. Yeah, Moshe, I'm sorry.
At my show, we say Kiddush and then we have Kiddush on Friday.
Whoa! What are you guys doing?
What do we do?
Right? We do Kiddush.
That is the second time. That's so good, guys. I've given this year like 30 times. That's only the second time it's happened. Because the other might say, maybe we should do Friday night where we do Kiddush and Shul Shabbos morning. Shabbos in the morning, many shuls have Kiddush, but of course afterwards, they eat a big spread. In fact, some shuls, you always have to pick one shul to make fun of. Whose shul has a particularly lavish Kiddush Shabbos morning? No? Anybody here go to the Hamptons? Okay. Henry, what do they serve?
All types of breads and breakfast and pastries. It's very nice.
Okay. But it's milchik, not fleshik.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, what do they serve there in Columbus?
Well, it depends if it's sponsored. If it's sponsored, like sholin, dips, desserts.
There we go. What kind of dips?
Hummus, usually like hummus, maybe some fish.
I'm not sure hummus is so exciting. If you tell me like cholent ups the level, that's one thing. We up the level, we bring out the hummus. Okay. Okay, there you go. Okay, so we're used to these ideas. Now there's clearly, we do have Kiddush b'makom suda. Right, they are serving a serious repast in the morning. Okay, but I was not aware until recently that anybody serves food Friday night after Kiddush. There was somebody in England who said their English shul does. It's very interesting your shul does. What does your shul serve?
Like mini hot dogs and salami poppers.
Do you, every Friday night?
Like
Do you have any idea what started it?
These are Holocaust things. We have Kiddush from Suda.
No, because I'm curious. Okay, here's what I'm curious, guys. This gets into what I called like other motivations. You could say that, right? Polakov said, Gavi, I'll get to you 1 second. Wait, Gavi, you're the same show, right? So I'm going to say two factors here, but Moshe, I'm very glad you brought it up. I can think of two factors. One would be purely halachic, namely, we're making Kiddush and Shul Friday night. We don't be a bracha levatala. How do we solve it? We make it Makam Suda. We actually serve a Suda and Shul Friday night. The other thing I can think of, it's kind of educational advertising. I mean, what if you're in a community where people are less committed and you want to get them to come to Shul? So if you say, guess what? After the Friday night davening, after you hear Chazan Spinner do a beautiful Chadodi, right? You then have hot dogs. Who could pass that up, that combination? Chazan Spinner and hot dogs. Everybody, the non-Jews are going to come to Friday night at davening, right? Everybody's going to come, right? So do you think it's more halachic, more just advertising?
I think it's more to get people to come to shul.
Okay.
And I think the reason they give was Kiddush B'makom Suda.
Oh, that's even cleverer. You say it's really advertising, but it's under the guise of a halachic argument. Wow, then no one has to feel I'm only coming for the hot dogs. Okay, wow, very clever. God Belino, what happens on the east side of Manhattan? And which reason do you think it is? Okay, very good. Yeah, Mayor, what do they do in Oakland over there?
Sometimes it's good, sometimes less good. But I'm curious.
No, wait, but they have Kiddush Friday night also? You just went to day Kiddush.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, go ahead.
But I'm wondering if we're reinstating Korbanot with the third Beit HaMikdash, would prayers still be obligatory?
Okay, that is a great question, Mayor. I'm not 100% sure it's directly relevant to this year, but when I said my three-word hint, did you get it?
I'm not sure.
Okay, because you can only ask that question if you got my three-word hint. Since you're not sure, I'm going to disallow the question. I'm sorry. Okay? We're good, guys? Okay, but if you're curious, there are like 4 guys who got it. Maybe you could check with them during lunch. Okay? The 4 guys who got the hint. Andrew, you're pretty confident you got it? All right, we're going to try for 5 seconds. What was the hint?
I was going to say pump, but then I started thinking about it. Wait, it's 3. Because I thought you said 3 letters, but then you said 3 words, and now I'm confused.
That should not confuse you. Okay. Guys, what is the Ram? Oh, you got it? What? Guys, what's the Rambam's famous theory of Korbanot? Rambam says Korbanot were a concession to the religious life of the ancient Near East. Remember that, guys? That really it wouldn't have been the ideal necessarily, but because that's the way the ancient man thought of religion, so we have to have Korbanot. Okay, so the obvious question on Rambam is, then why would one ever have the renewal of Korbanot? Right? We have different issues now. We're not combating ancient paganism. Right? So there isn't a Barbanel that suggests, guess what happened? That Korbanot was initially to combat the ancient race, but it took on a meaning of its own beyond that. Right, so that would be again the idea that its original rationale would not be the animating spirit right now. Okay, now that I've explained it, who actually got it? You did it, did you get it?
Yeah.
You really got it.
That's what I assumed, that it was basically what they had back in the day, and now like.
Okay, very good. Very good. Who actually really, Emmy, you really got it or no? You really got it. Way to go, Emmy. Okay. Henry's off the list. He did not really get it. But he's an honest man. He's an honest man, Henry. Very good. Mika, how come you didn't get it? That wasn't covered in the Vermont curriculum. Okay. Guys, I'm sorry I make the same joke every week. It's just, it's endless. It's endlessly entertaining. It's just endlessly entertaining. Okay. Now that was one of my important educational discoveries is that sometimes you can make the same joke every week and it works. That was a very important discovery. Okay. All right, RT, what do you want to ask?
This is just a comment that I think you're finding entertaining. Chabad likes to have a kiddush before Kabbalah Shabbos. They have like
Is that also to get people to come, or is that like some Kabbalistic idea?
I can imagine that it functions as both. I don't know what the actual justification.
I actually have an idea what it might be. Guys, this is interesting, guys. This is great. You could try quoting this to your moms, but your moms might not like it. Okay, there is an idea. You ever hear the phrase, we say it actually in davening, To'ameh Chaim Zachu? Ring a bell to anybody? Let's just translate. What does it mean? To'ameh Chaim Zachu. To'ameh, those that taste Shabbat, Chaim Zachu. They merit life. That there's some powerful experience of tasting Shabbat. So this is a very clever way to make this minhag. So somebody said, if you taste the Shabbos food Friday afternoon, you are fulfilling this value of To'ameh. I don't know where it comes from. You think it's Magen Avraham? I should look it up. Everyone ever heard this idea? You're fulfilling this value of To'ameh Chaim Zachu. Okay, which is very clever because very often, by the way, my wife never lets me do this. But what often happens, like it's Friday afternoon, you smell the potato kugel, it smells really good. You don't want to wait till tomorrow to eat it. You want to eat it now. Okay, but of course, often the person who's the cook in the house will say, no, we need it for lunch tomorrow. So you can't taste it. But now you could give like your religious argument. You could say, I am fulfilling the religious mandate of To'ameh Chaim Zachu. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that's their source.
Unless Shabbos tastes like vodka and herring. Pretty sure it's not related.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that's the reason, by the way. I'm pretty sure that's the reason. Okay, yeah. Everybody good? Okay, now let's play it out. Yeah, wait, guys, give me 1 second. Shh, guys, we did a lot of good talk. We got a little distracted. Let's play it out inside. Everybody look at the tour, please. Tour source 3. Okay, we're going to see 3 sources, then I'll take more questions. V'nogin b'chol makomot. What's the minog? Sheshliach tzibur mekadesh beit hakneset. Vani tama. The tour is about to attack it. Heichnit pashet zeminag. How could such a minog spread? Da kaimelan kishmuel she'ein kiddush l'makom suda. We follow Shmuel. Uli didei. And what do we do today? Oh, sorry. According to Shmuel, ein mekadesh beit hakneset ela fuki orchin. Ta'achli v'shatu beit kneshta. Dildu avi makom suda. The only purpose was for the guests. That's what the Gemara said, right? And here's the line, guys. The kivin dahashta leka orchin ta'achli atam. What's true today? No guess. Karo v'adavar liyo bracha levatala. I think it's a wasted bracha. It's a needless bracha. Therefore, the Torah says, don't make Kiddush and Shul. So all you guys who don't make Kiddush and Shul Friday night, we all know the logic. And now he goes even further. What about those who do it, who are sticking with it anyway? Minhag avotenu, as you said, Nathaniel. V'amakadesh min hakneset ein lo lishto miyayin shel kiddush. Okay, what does he say? And if you do have the minhag, what can't you do? No, the chazan can't drink. So when chazan, actually chazan spinner can because they're eating. Okay, but that's because you have a unique circumstance. But guys, why? Because you're not yotzei kiddush. If you're not yotzei kiddush, you shouldn't be drinking. You're not supposed to drink before Kiddush. Wait, so what do? Let's keep reading. The kivin she'enu yotze ba she'enu lo makom suda aslo tomat shikash makom suda ella yitein letinok. Now just be careful, guys. He's obviously not using tinok to mean a baby. What's the best translation of tinok here? A child, okay? So if you're curious, those who do make Kiddush and Shul Friday night, when the children line up, right, that's what happens, right, guys? We all know why right now. Because we're making Kiddush. Maybe just because it's the minhag, but you're really not yotzei, so we don't have the adults drink. So we have the children line up, and they're the ones who drink the wine. Okay, but now this is great, guys. I never had this before, because now I can ask a great question on the final. And the question on the final would be as follows. in shuls that make Kiddush Friday night, why is it that in Shomri Amuna they give the wine to a child, but in the Great Neck Synagogue the adult Chazan Spinner drinks the wine? We should all be able to answer. Why in Shomri Amuna did they give it to a child? There's no Suda, so no one's Yotzei, so we better give it to a child. But in the Great Neck Synagogue, everybody's Yotzei, because they're all going to be eating hot dogs and buns right afterward. Wait, Moshe, I have one practical question for you. Are people like still hungry when they get home for Friday night dinner?
Yeah.
Yeah, Gabi?
Yeah.
I didn't ask about 18-year-old boys. What about the average like 52-year-old lawyer?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine. All right, I'll take comments in 1 second, guys. Okay, we're going to come back to this. Now, what's the justification? So let's look at the Rashba, and we're going to see, guys, we're just going to do the Rashba versus the Rosh. We'll see exactly the two kinds of justifications I said. It's really a fun sugya. Let's go to the Rashba first. The F Shalom Od Meikara Tiknu Kadosh Bnei Knesset. They made a takana to be Mekiddush. The Ikrish Shel Takana Mishum Archanav. It's true. What was the reason? Guess. Umishum Zimnint Ik Orche Tiknu Lakadesh. How does the takana work? Bein Ika Bein Leka. What does that mean? Bein Ika Bein Leka. It is just a formal takana. What's a formal takana? How does it play out? We're going to say that Kiddush. What's Ika Leka, guys? There are or there aren't. Whether or not there are guests. We don't care. It's just a formal takana. So in a certain sense, I think this is the Nathaniel approach, right? How does the Rashba view it? Once it's instituted, it's instituted. We don't do a case-by-case basis whether it's necessary or not. And notice, I'm not going to do it inside, but especially Shan Bet Boys, read the Rashba, you'll find it interesting. He has two analogies. Just guys, if you could just pick through it, let's see if you guys are good at skimming. What are his two analogies to this where he thinks we're still doing it even though it might not be necessary? Can we pick out the two analogies? Even just pick out one, guys. I'll give you a hint. One of them is 2 lines from the bottom. Uke'inyan. Yeah, very good. Who was that? Excellent. Oh, become a new star of Shiur Klali. Way to go. Okay, Chazar Shots. That's one of his examples, right? So what does he think now? Not what I said before. And not what you did, you quoted. It's not that we really love Chazar Shots because it's the most important tefillah. It's not because Kedusha. It's simply because once it's instituted, it's instituted. Okay, excellent, guys. His other analogy is on the second line. If you know this, you're really outstanding. What is bracha me'ein sheva a reference to? Who knows what bracha me'ein sheva is? Noam Ben, he got a real education there in Baltimore. Go ahead, Noam. Guys, I'm telling you something. After I tell you, you're going to wonder how come you never noticed this your entire life. We say a tefillah Friday night called Magen Avot. Do you ever notice that Magen Avot is just shorthand for the 7 brachot of Yamidah? Right, think about it. Magen Avot Bidvaro, right? Mechaye Meitim B'mamaro, Hakel HaKadosh, right? Pretty straightforward, right? So what would you call that? Bracha Achat Me'ein Sheva, meaning this is one bracha that encapsulates the 7. Now, I don't know if anyone ever learned this. Why were they mitaking that, this bracha Me'ein Sheva? It's actually very interesting. What is that?
So that to give enough people time to come to shul.
Okay, excellent. So apparently the shuls, very interesting sociologically why this is true, but the shuls used to be out in the fields. And they didn't want anyone to walk home alone because it was dangerous. So it's almost like a prayer as a delaying tactic. Somebody who's still in the middle of the Amidah has a chance to catch up because everybody else is saying bracha achat me'ein sheva. So what's the obvious point here as well, guys? One could argue that nowadays, if our shuls are closer to home, where the danger factor is not there, we could have dropped it. Okay, so guys, one more source, but haven't got. So what's theory 1 of the Rashba? I don't have a reason to do it anymore. It's just we do it because we did it. And what are his 3 cases of this phenomena? He thinks the 3 cases of this phenomena are Chazar Dashatz, Bracha Achat Me'ein Sheva, and Kiddush and Shul. Okay, however, let us go to the Rosh. The Rosh has a different approach. If we look at the Rosh, he says, what about the Bracha Levatala problem? So let's read from the beginning. Mahashtavi Bracha Levatala Me'ein Sham Archen. V'Rav Yonah Piresh. What's Rabbeinu Yonah say? De'ena Bracha Levatala Da'amina De'en Kish Bracha Levatala Hainu Midrabanan. Guys, Kiddush is a biblical mitzvah. But when you have a biblical mitzvah, it doesn't mean that every detail of it is biblical. Maybe some of the details are a rabbinic addition. What does he want to claim about this principle that Kiddush should introduce the meal? That particular idea is a rabbinic addition. So what, guys, what now new possibilities that open up? Why when we say Kiddush in Shul now, is it not pointless? Because every single person in Shul, at least, is fulfilling the Doraita level. It's true that when they get back home, they'll say it again because they want to. But you can't tell me it's a Brach Levatel anymore. But notice the split. I think this is exactly what we wanted. The Rosh was saying, I've got no rationale for it. We do it because we did it, as Nathaniel suggested. What does the Rabbeinu Yonah say right here? No, we better come up with a reason. I'll give you a reason. Because even if you're not fulfilling Makom Sudah, you're still fulfilling at least the Doraita level of Kiddush. Okay, we got it? So just to sum up, now I'll take comments. If we get to the last two parts, we now have the three options. Option one, the Tur, update the halacha. What does the Tur say? Stop saying it. Okay? Very common minute. Stop saying it. It's pointless. What does the Rashba say? We're going to say it because we've said it. That's good enough reason. What does the Rabbeinu Yonah say? No, we're still going to say it, but because we actually have a reason to say it. We're going to say it because we're all Yotzei Kiddush D'Oraita. Okay, Gabriel, you want a question? Who had a hand up before? Moshe.
We only started doing Kiddush on Friday nights a few years ago, and we also don't always do it during the summer because it's like a little bit late and we want people to get home.
Okay.
And when we didn't used to have Kiddush on Friday nights, or during the summer, still now when we don't do Kiddush on Friday nights, Yitzi doesn't drink the wine.
Ah, there we go.
There's a line of little kids.
Does it all make sense? Right. That's not right. You're right. That's not a question. It all makes sense. Right. Basically, during the summer, wait next synagogue turns into Shomer Emunah. Right. And nobody's eating, and therefore no one's Yotzei Kiddush. Therefore, we give it to the kids. Wow, that's cool. So your dad gets to drink wine 50% of Friday nights of the year. Okay. Wait. Does he have a preference to which?
No, I think we have better wine at home.
Okay, so since the show wine is lousy, he prefers those summer months. Okay, yes, Nathaniel.
Why is that the kids drinking the wine, like, okay?
Okay, so I think that the little kid drinking the wine is really just to make the Berper Guffin, not a Bracha L'Batala.
But the chazan is still making the bracha,
right?
Just in their kids, then, I guess.
I'm sorry.
Then the chazan is just making the bracha like the name of the kids.
Yeah. Now, two more things. Any other? Does somebody else have a question here? Yeah, Yoni. Oh, very good. So everyone turn to the other side, guys. I'm going to skip a little bit, even though there's so much I'd like to do here, because I think there's just three ideas I have to fit in. And I've got 12 minutes to go. I have to fit in 3 ideas. Okay, so before Ari Tartarka mentioned the Magen Avraham, just everyone should know, when you open a Shulchan Aruch, Rav Yosef Cairo, you have commentaries on the side. The Magen Avraham is probably the most important commentary on Orach Chaim. And remember, guys, which topics are in Orach Chaim? Daily life, which includes what? What's it? What would I look up in Orach Chaim? Bracho, Tefillah, and Shabbat and Yom Tov. Okay, that's just a good thing to memorize. Bracho, Tefillah, Shabbat, and Yom Tov. That's what I look up in Orach Chaim. So often they'll be important. You might notice the following, guys. It's not surprising at all. That if you're discussing mixing up milk and meat in the kitchen, no one is quoting the Magen Avraham. He's never quoted. But if you're discussing what happens with Malacha on Shabbat, all of a sudden they're quoting the Magen Avraham all the time. All right, Nat Gold, you ready?
Ready, I'm locked in.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty serious. Okay, ready? Nat, why does no one quote the Magen Avraham on mixing up milk and meat? If you listen carefully with my last 45 seconds, you might be able to answer the question. Why does no one ever quote the Magen Avraham about mixing up milk and meat? All of a sudden, somebody pours a little milk in your cholent pot. You say, Rabbi, what do I do now? He's going to quote 1,000 people. He's not going to quote the Magen Avraham. Why is that? All right, somebody help him out. Roi. Thank you, Roi. Anyone know which section they're in, by the way? Anyone know which section of Shulchan Aruch they're in? Kashrut? Okay, they're in Yoredea. Okay, so the Magen Avraham did not write a commentary on Yoredea, so obviously he's not going to be cited. But he did write a commentary on Orach Chaim, so he's going to be cited about Hilchot Shabbat. So there are two. Nat, don't worry, you're still a nice guy. Hang in there. Okay? What? I don't want you to be like dissuaded because you couldn't answer the question. Okay? Yeah, you're good? You still in a good mood? Okay, excellent. Okay, so guys, two interesting things in the Magen Avraham. One is, there's an idea in halacha that there's two kinds of minors. There's a katan she'agia l'chinuch and a katan she'lo higia l'chinuch. What does it mean higia l'chinuch? You're old enough to be educated. And what do we do at that point? We have the katan doing mitzvot. They're not obligated yet, but Like any culture, like you get into it, you introduce them to get them into the culture of mitzvot. Fine. Let me ask you a great question, guys. The Magen Avraham wants to know, who do we want to line up? Would it be better to have the 11-year-old or the 3-year-old? What do you think, guys? Would you rather have a katan higil chinuch? Can you give me an argument both ways? Or a katan shelo higil? Again, assuming we're doing this method, that we're going to make kiddush and shul, and it's not the Grey Neck synagogue, so we need to give the wine to a katan, or the grape juice to a katan. What do you think is more logical? What kind of katan should we be giving it to? All right, I'm just looking for a new voice here. Elliot.
You can give it to the younger person because then you're for sure not wasting the bracha.
Why is the younger person not wasting the bracha?
The older person might understand the fact that you shouldn't be saying kiddush, or you shouldn't. The older person.
Okay. So the claim would be, I'm going to rephrase Elliot's point a little bit. You might say the 11-year-old, you're giving him the wrong message, because what message is the 11-year-old getting? That you could be yotzi kiddush like this. And show, better give it to a 3-year-old who's not getting any message. Okay, is that kind of what you're saying? Okay, what's the counter argument though, guys? Because, by the way, notice, who do we tend to give it to? The older child. Okay, what would be the counter argument, Gedalia?
You could maybe argue that the 11-year-old already knows the halacha, so when you're...
Okay. Not bad. Yeah, you have very impressive 11-year-olds in your show. Charlie?
You just said you don't want to give little tiny children water.
Okay. Although, what if it's grape juice?
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
fine. Not bad. No. All right, I'm going to tell you a brief story, guys, just for 1 minute. Okay? This is a story that combines Gemara, Talmudic scholarship, and making fun of people. Okay? Here we go. Quite a threesome. Okay, so there's a fellow who wrote a book about Shuvot, who unfortunately is an Am Haaretz. And if you're ignoramus, you probably shouldn't write a book about any topic in Judaism, but certainly not about Shuvot. See, he once made a very, very famous mistake, which is as follows. There's a Gemara in Eruvin that tries to figure out, I think I mentioned this when I gave Shiur in, where were we? At that Fanatics farm. Okay, I probably shouldn't have done that on video, but okay. So remember, guys, I said that we say Shechianu even on Yom Kippur night? Now, normally, where do we integrate Shechianu? Into the Kiddush, right? That's where we integrate Shechianu. So I don't remember this, guys. We were up on the roof in Kol Nidre. We just said Shechianu without a Kiddush. And remember that? So that's what we do. We just say Shechianu without a Kiddush. But the Gemara in Eruvin says maybe what we should do is do it with a Kiddush and give the grape juice to a kid. So it rejects it. But it says, that's what it says. It's Gemara in Eruvin. Somewhere in the Mems, I don't remember where. Okay, so then, the one says, we won't do that. Shema yimashech, lest the kid will be pulled after this. Now, what Rashi says the pshat is the kid will get the wrong idea because you're giving him wine on Yom Kippur. So we can't do that. So we reject that possibility and just say it without a kiddush. But this fellow was an ignoramus, unfortunately. He looked at the word, and he looked it up in Jastrow. He said, Shemi Yimashech. Maybe he'll be pulled after it. We're afraid the kid is going to get addicted to wine. Okay, and that is why we don't do it. Okay, so I was going to tell you this, guys, if anyone wants, they can try to look this up. There's a very well-known Jewish history professor named Chaim Soloveitchik. He is the son of the Rav Soloveitchik. He wrote a famous book review critiquing this guy where he points out all the ridiculous things the guy says. Okay, so one of them is this, that if we give the kid wine on Yom Kippur, he will then be a wine addict, and therefore we cannot do this. Okay, but in any case, that is not the pshat. Okay, why did I say all this? How do we get to the Shechianu? Oh, katan. There we go. Okay, so what would be the argument? Oh, because Charlie raised why we don't give it to katan. Guys, give me a counter argument. Again, we had an argument to give it to lo higil chinuch. Why might it be better to give a katan that's higil chinuch? Yeah, Edin. Guys, don't forget, we want to make the kiddush purposeful. What's more likely to make it purposeful? When you give it to the understanding child, right? He's the one I'm educating already. I'm not yet educating the 3-year-old. Right, so I think you could reverse the argument. So it's very interesting. If you read the Magen Avraham, guys, you could cut both ways. You could say we want to give it to the lo higil chinuch. It's less problematic. You could say no, we specifically want to give it to the higil chinuch because that's better at avoiding bracha levatala. Everybody good so far, guys? Okay, last point of the day. There was one more thing I wanted to do, but we're not going to get to it. We'll get to the Sridiesh. Guys, the Sridiesh is a wonderful Achron named Rav Yechiel Yaakov Weinberg. He was a Rav who knew both Eastern Europe and Western Europe. He combined the best of both worlds. Because he learned in Slobodka, which was the yeshiva in Eastern Europe, and then he went to Berlin and got a doctorate, so he also knew Western Europe. And then after the war, he moved to Switzerland. Okay, it's kind of funny, because all the major Talmidei Chacham were either in Israel and America. Where's Ariel? Sorry, English. Okay, and is Yitzchak back here? Where is he? Yeah, sorry, the French don't really star in this one either. Okay, but Rav Weinberg was in Switzerland. And he was asked the following fascinating question. Guys, look at the last 3 words of the first line. Who asked him the question? Who asked him the question? Last 3 words of the first line. The chief rabbi? Not bad, huh? How many questions in history came from the chief rabbi of Finland? Okay, so here's the story, guys. What did the chief rabbi of Finland want to know there in Helsinki? So in Helsinki, the old minhag was to make Kiddush and Shul. During World War II, it was very hard for them. I guess you don't produce kosher wine in Finland. So they couldn't get kosher wine. So obviously they stopped making Kiddush and Shul. Now World War II is over. Now you get, this is really fascinating, guys, Jewish communal dynamics. The rabbi who's very from, the rabbi says, you know what? I never liked this minhag of making Kiddush and Shul because who seems to be logically right? The Torah, namely, it now has no purpose. So I should take advantage of World War II and stop making Kiddush and Shul. Everyone got it? But the communities are very attached to their customs, right? So what did the community say? No, now that we have wine again, we want to make Kiddush and Shul. So I just thought that dynamic is very interesting. The rabbi versus the community. So they sent a question to Rav Weinberg in Switzerland, and Rav Weinberg says, you know who's right? What do you think he's going to go with? The community. He sides with the community against the rabbi, and he says 2 beautiful things, guys. The whole shiur was worth it just for these 2 beautiful things. Okay, the first thing he says is, don't be afraid that if you lose, if you admit you're wrong, it's going to hurt your stature in the community. Couldn't you easily imagine the rabbi thinking that? I can't lose to my community because then they'll never respect me again. He says, you know what? Someone who could admit a loss, who could take a loss, gets more respect. Now that, guys, is, if you didn't get anything else this year, that is great mussar for life. I think often parents are afraid to admit to their children that they did the wrong thing, that the child was right. Do not be afraid of that, guys. In the right dynamic, that adds to your respect. It does not diminish your respect. Okay, that's the first point he says. But then he says something very beautiful. We'll close with this slide. Where is it? Okay, look at 2 lines on the bottom. V'od sheyesh b'zeh mishum chinuch tziburi. What does this do? It educates the community. The Kiddush HaShabbat b'farhesya. What's parhesya? It gives a public sanctity to Shabbat. Umosif chen v'yofi shel k'tusha l'knisat hayom. HaKiddush hazeh. V'ulai yitoru al yedei kein litshuva. Maybe they'll be yitoru. What's litorer? They'll wake up and do tshuva. L'kadesh gam bebeitam. Notice what happened here, guys? I would say this is my model 2A. He's not saying the only reason to make Kiddush is because it's accomplishing the old thing. It is accomplishing a new thing. Let's just think for a second, guys. I hope no Finnish people in the audience are going to be insulted by this. How knowledgeable and observant do you think the Helsinki community was? Okay, can I posit? Maybe it's my, American bias. I'm going to posit they're probably not too knowledgeable and observant. Can we agree with that? At which point, what might you say? You know why I want to make Kiddush and Shul? Because they don't get exposure to Kiddush otherwise. Right? They're not going to make it at home. And maybe it's going to add a certain beauty and luster to the Friday night service that they'll be excited by. So notice what happens. Extraneous educational factors come into play to side with the idea that we should be making Kiddush in Shul. Now, guys, you might be confused. You might say, oh, he's thinking like Rabbeinu Yonah about the Raita. He doesn't say that. He doesn't say I'm thinking like the Raita. He just says another factor here is this will be good for the Helsinki community. Therefore, let's go back to making Kiddush and Shul. So I'm just going to sum up for 1 second, guys. Okay, so here we go. The 5-sentence summary. But I think you guys got a lot of good Torah today. Okay, here we go. Why in the Talmudic times do they make Kiddush and Shul? Because the guests actually eat there. It is Makom Suda. Where is the one place in the United States of America where that is still true? The Great Neck Synagogue. Okay, excellent. why would the Tur and almost all Sephardim, actually all Sephardim, say no Kiddush and Shul Friday night? It's pointless because now, yeah, but why? Because nobody's eating there. Even the guests aren't eating there. Okay, what about those that still do it? Okay, so if you're the Rashba, what's the model? We're very traditional people, we Jews. Right? And therefore, if we did it, we do it. So notice, in the Rashba's view, you don't need a reason. Okay, the Rosh needed a reason. What was the Rosh's reason? He thinks that, at least on a Doraita level, we're fulfilling Kiddush. Rav Yechiel Yaakov Weinberg, the Sridei, said, I got another educational reason. What was his motivation to do it? To educate and inspire Finnish Jewry. Okay, we're good, guys? So now, we're going to finish up right now, but I want to remind everybody, okay, this will be a great question for the final. Guys, this final is getting too long. Right, what halachic psak over the, I know you all know it now, but let's see if you all know it in May. I'm going to ask this question in May. Okay, that's going to separate the men from the boys. Okay, which halachic psak was dedicated to inspiring Finnish Jewry? That is a great question. Okay, we'll see who still knows it in May. All right, everybody have a great Shabbos.